afternoon and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and all viewers all across the world, wherever you are watching from. If you're watching from Ghana, welcome to today's show. This is the Ghana Agenda on Loud Silence Radio and TV Network. Today, we would be talking about the Ghana Electoral Commission, The way to watch this program, and of course, tell a friend to go to YouTube and put in Loud Silence Radio. If you haven't subscribed yet, please click the subscription button and subscribe. We are also live on With All Due Respect channel on Facebook. With All Due Respect channel on Facebook. So if you are watching us and you want to tell your friend, please tell your friend. Tell them to come. We are going to be talking a lot of interesting things. We'll be discussing the Electoral Commission. There has been so much said. This past week, this has been a year that, of course, I personally wouldn't want to be the Electoral Commissioner chairman right now. I wouldn't want to hold that position. But we'll be talking about the Electoral Commission. We'll look at it from 4 different perspectives. We are looking at the life cycle of elections in Ghana, how our elections conductor will talk you through the registration process all the way to when results are announced. We will also be taking a look at the systems that support our processes. What systems are we using to conduct our elections? And the third thing we'll talk about is whether elections can be rigged. Can elections be rigged in Ghana? I am sure you are interested in that aspect and you are waiting to hear what we have to say about that. And then, of course, we don't want to leave without talking to you about the solutions. What are some of the recommendations? What can we do as a country to improve? The rhetoric has gotten heated so far, and we want to calm things down. We want to give assurance to people that our elections can be conducted in Ghana without violence. And we want to make sure there are no violence. In studio with me today is Mr. Fred Johnson. Fred Johnson is a member of the NDC, and he's going to be talking and representing the opinion of the NDC. We've also invited the MPP to join us today in studio. We are still working on that relationship. They should be coming in, they've assured me, but they will not be on today's show. But on subsequent show, we should be bringing the MPP to our studios as well. Mr. Johnson, how are you today?
I'm good, sir. Thank you.
Good to have you in studio. So we've gone through 13 elections so far, 13 elections, right? We started in 1992, since the Fourth Republic. We've done 2004, 2008. We also had an election in 2012, and that one was disputed. We went to court, came out of court, and some reforms happened since then. We've also had another successful election after the 2012 one, and all those recommendations that came from the Supreme Court were implemented. We are getting ready to go to another election. What is your mood so far? Do you think the NDC is ready for this election? There's so many conversations on getting a new register, and I'm gonna tap into all those. But what is your mood so far? If you can quickly introduce yourself first and tell us what your mood is, what you're thinking going into this election.
Well, I want to start by thanking you for having me, Mr. Alfred. We are happy. I bring you greetings from the NDC, both Ghana and all across the diaspora. We are very enthusiastic about this forthcoming election in 2020. Yeah. We know that with the people on our side, would be victorious in this 2020 election.
Yeah, if you can get closer to your mic a little bit and speak directly into it. Yeah, we'll get that fixed, but yeah.
Okay, is this good?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, so like I said, we are very enthusiastic about this forthcoming elections. Yeah. We know that with the public on our side, we will be very victorious coming these elections. Now, like I said, we are very enthusiastic, and we know that with the people on our side, we'll win this election, and it will be a victory for the whole of the country, not just NDC, because we know that what we have planned for the country would be a rebirth. Our victory will be a rebirth of continuity, of development, and of progress for our country, and that is why we are very keen on doing the best we can, mobilizing the people on the ground to go out there and vote for us with our progressive message.
Okay, good. That's really good. I'm sure if we talk to the MPP, they would also express the same sentiments that you've just expressed. So good. So far, one of the things I want us to do is we want to look at the electoral life cycle, right? We want to walk people through, our viewers through the registration, exhibition of the voter register, the devices that are used, because there's so many issues coming up around those things. And so we want to break it down to where our viewers can I mean, I know you're coming from the NDC, but I still think you should be objective when you present that. So tell me, how can somebody vote in Ghana? Start from the process. How do you get to register? Who can register in Ghana to vote?
Well, obviously the power to register candidates, voters, it's rested in the hands of the Electoral Commission of Ghana.
Okay.
Now, you have to, of course, be a citizen to be able to vote. You have to be 18 plus to be able to vote.
Okay.
Registrations get opened by the Electoral Commission. Okay. And once that is open and you're eligible, you have your voter ID card. Okay. You have proof of residence or proof of citizenship. To be able to register, and all that, when all that verification is done by the commission and their agents out on the field in the constituency levels, they're able to get you into the registration system for you to be able to vote come any of the elections.
Okay, great. So I think you mentioned something that I wanted to piggyback on a little bit. You mentioned that you have to have a proof of citizen. How does one show a proof of citizen in Ghana? Is it by birth certificate? Is it by passport? How do you go to the Electoral Commission? It shows that you are a Ghanaian citizen and you are eligible to register to vote.
For now, it's by, I believe it's by birth certificate and passport.
Okay.
Which, of course, some of us have concerns about the passports because, of course, we know that there are black market passports being produced out there.
Interesting.
So we would think credible voter register would be one that shows proof of birth, rather than birth certificates, rather than passports.
So proof of birth, I mean, of course, we know you can also get a birth certificate in Ghana. This is easy to get, right? So either way, I think, we need to come up with something better, right? The current system, the current way of showing the eligibility, it's not very clear. Would that be your conclusion as well?
Definitely, I agree with you on that one. It's a concern, but this is something, some of the long-term goals, or we'll have to put in place to be able to avoid all doubts when it comes to proving citizenship. Okay. Like we both know that birth certificates could be fraudulently produced out there, just like our passports could also be. So I believe that the EC knows this as well, and I believe that they will be putting things in place to be able to counter all these concerns that the average person may have.
Okay, good. So I think those are really good answers. We are all interested in having a credible, clean register. If you're watching, you're seeing my boss coming quickly, Kevin Taylor. Is helping us with the microphone, and we'll be bringing Kevin on to come and give us some nuggets today. Kevin always has something for the viewers and the listeners. So at some point today, we'll be bringing in Kevin. Kevin will be talking to us. There's one other thing I wanted us to address, which is since 2012, we've changed the game. It used to be that you register to vote, but it's all done manually on paper. Since 2012, that has changed, right? Yes. What are some of the positive things that you can tell us about the change where, in fact, we've introduced biometric system into our voting?
Well, the biometric voter system is I think it's a step forward from the manual that we used to have before. Right. Obviously, you have fingerprints that would, which of course we know it's very credible. I mean, no two individuals have the same fingerprint. So, it's a good way, it's a step ahead or a step forward from what we used to have before, which was, of course, in 2011, which came about out of a loud cry from the MPP, that's something they need to ensure free, fair, and credible elections without people having to vote multiple times.
You're talking about it as if you're not in favor of that. Is that something you're in favor of?
No, I'm very much in favor of it. Okay. I'm just saying this to make a point that back then, the Electoral Commission accepted their proposal in consultation with many IT or technical personnel, and it was implemented, which, like I said, is a step ahead of what we had before. Right. So it's a good thing. Verification is much easier. Okay. The whole notion of people voting multiple times, I believe, was eradicated because, again, no two fingerprints are the same. Good. So, yeah, it's a step ahead, which we all applauded. And, of course, it's brought us credible results from the 2012 and 2016 elections.
Great. So this is the segment where we are still talking about the electoral life cycle. So we are still on registration, and we're going to progress from registration to what happens next. But I have one more question on the registration piece. Walk us through how one registers. So you say, first of all, you have to have a way to prove that you're a citizen, that you're eligible to register. Then what? So you then show up. Where do you show up to go register? Do you have to go to the district? Because, see, some issues came out about this district election that just happened, that, the registration devices, the BVRs, right, the biometric voters registration kit, was only sent to districts, but not to the constituencies themselves. So, for instance, if I'm in a village that is very far from my district, I have to find a way to get there just to vote, just to get myself registered. So walk me through how the registration exercise is conducted. Where does one have to go to get registered to vote?
I believe that location designations would be a mandate of the Election Commission, Electoral Commission, because obviously we know there are so many polling stations here, and there are so many 275 constituencies. Now, if they don't have enough kits for such registration process to take place, they could, in your case, one could be asked to travel to register. Right. So that is not quite a concern as far as I'm concerned, or as far as the NDC is concerned.
Don't you think that disenfranchised people want to register and vote and participate in, this is their right. So we are talking about a situation where you can only go to the district's capital, right? And that district capital could be so many miles away from you. Don't you think that disenfranchised the people?
No, I agree. That is something that needs to be worked on. So yes, but like I said, if this is what we have today, right, and that is what we have to work with. Okay. So until such time as we can come to that, where machines could be spread all over the place, where within very safe distance or very reasonable distances, people can travel and then go and register to vote. We welcome that because it's a good thing for democracy. Okay. But in a case where we don't have as much, because we talk complaining about money, how much resources, how much we spend on our elections, our elections are becoming very expensive, and we don't have the money, and we have to depend on our development community, funders to help us fund our elections. These are some of the things I think Ghanaians can accommodate. The fact that we don't have ample supply of equipment, and then they would make such sacrifices to travel wherever need be to travel to get themselves registered.
Good. So you show up to register, they take your fingerprints, and my understanding is they take 6 fingers, right? Or all 10 fingers?
All 10, that's
all 10 fingers, okay. So they take your 10 fingerprints. Are you aware of whether they are doing any facial recognition as part of the registration as well, currently?
Well, yes. With the current system, I believe is that it's there. Right. It's just that it's not being well utilized. Okay. That's my understanding.
So what you're saying is we have the capability.
Exactly.
But it's not being used. So I'm aware that we have 2 different ways to do this. We have the AFIS, which is the automated fingerprint identification system, and the ABIS, which is the automated biometric identification system. So what you're saying is we have ABIS, which is able to do both fingerprint and facial recognition, but we are not using it. Do you know a reason why we've not used it? Because, see, your party has been in government. And when you guys were in government, I don't want to blame it on MPP not using it, because we've had district elections, we have referendums that happen, and I don't remember that the facial recognition piece was used.
So like I was saying, the current system we have, my understanding is that the current system we have is capable of doing that. Okay. Whether or not the previous registration processes has included that, I don't know. Okay. Now I know the new stance of the Electoral Commission is that the reason for talking about implementing a new voter registration register is to bring a system which encompasses facial recognition. Right. But I have a concern with that.
We don't necessarily need to go to the system pieces. It's one of our segments. Okay. So we're just currently walking through the process. So in the process, you take your fingerprints, but what you're not aware of is whether, in fact, the facial features are being picked as part of your registration.
That I'm not aware of.
You're not aware of that. And I like this because you're candid, right? You tell me what you know, what you don't know. You tell me you don't know, which is good. We want that in our politics, all right? Okay, so let's say you go in, all right? Your fingerprints are taken. You are registered. How do I know, how do I prove that, in fact, I'm on the register? Because my fingerprints could be taken, but I may end up not being on the register. How do I prove that?
Well, I believe that after the registration is completed, there is a time where there's a process in place which is called exhibition.
Exhibition, okay.
So exhibition is a time where if you have such doubts, you can go back to your designated location,
Okay.
And then go through the register and then see if your name is really captured. And so once you know, at least that's the only way I know that you could
can
verify that you are indeed in the register.
And this exhibition you are describing, when does it happen? Where does it happen? Where can I go to do this verification? If I was in Ghana and I'm interested in voting, we're going to talk about ROPA briefly too, because I'm in the United States and I'm interested in voting. So, for instance, if I'm in Ghana and I'm interested in verifying whether in fact my name is on the register, where can I go to do this?
That I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
To be honest with you, I would suppose that would be at constituency level, where when such exhibitions are being, the Electoral Commission would give designations as to residents of
so
which
that
area,
would be announced by the Electoral Commission,
that
so
is
people
my
will know
supposition.
exactly where to go and verify. And I
That
think
would be my
that's key,
supposition.
right? That's really important because you don't want to show up on the day of the election just to find out your name is not on the register. I know that can bring a lot of problems. So you encourage people from your party. Is that a position you have, that you encourage people to go and do these verifications when they are open? Do you know how long the duration for the verifications?
No, I'm not sure.
I think
how long.
they did 3 months, not 3 months, 3 weeks the last time. They did 3 weeks in 2016. So I don't know. For me, I'm not sure what it would be in 2020, but I believe it was 3 months. So the other piece is, so you're registered, you verify that you are, your name is on the register on election day. On election day, what happens?
And on election day, with your
And to my viewers, we're going to go on a commercial break right after this answer, and we'll come back. I think he is also having some problems with his mic, so we want to make sure we fix that. But yeah, so on election day, you registered, you verified that your name is on the register, even if you didn't verify, but you still show up to vote. Then what happens that day?
Well, on election day, you show up with your voter ID, and then that's proof of verification that you've been registered, you've been captured in the system.
Okay.
And then hopefully you show up at the right polling station.
Okay.
And then once you're identified, identification is verified, and you're eligible, you're allowed to vote.
You're allowed to vote. Yep. Okay. Now, at that moment that you are voting, give me a view of the polling station. My understanding is we have 29,000 polling stations in Ghana. Is that the understanding as well? Has that increased so far, or is still staying at 29,000?
It hasn't increased as far as I'm
because
concerned.
One thing I know is, and correct me if I'm wrong, right? Some polling stations can be congested where you have more than 1,000 or 1,500 people. You can have, big numbers at some polling stations. And so I know in 2016, Mrs. Osei, who used to be the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, was trying to do some type of decongestion by asking for more money to hire more polling agents so we can break some polling stations into two and make sure each polling station have only 860 people. 860 registered voters. That way the counting can happen a lot with expedition and the reporting of results can happen quickly. Do you know if the current Electoral Commission, I don't know if you have insight into what is going on in IPAC, but do you know whether the current Electoral Commission is also proceeding on that tangent? Are they doing the same thing, or they are doing something different?
Well, for everything they've put out so far, there's nothing that indicates that they are looking at that angle.
So we are going to polling stations with 5,000 people, and that is accepted?
That is likely to happen because, again, the polling stations have not increased since from the 29. It's not exactly 29,000, but it's almost 29,000 polling stations that we already have.
Well, preferably that should increase, right? Because, again, the population is growing, and, the fact that, we are even thinking of revising the register, we may bring more people on the register, which could mean that there are more people voting at specific polling stations that needed to be broken up. So that's a point you will support.
Of course, definitely. Anything that eases the burden and makes voting very easy and simpler, it's good for democracy. And if the need to increase the number of polling stations is the right way to go. Of course, it's something that is a good idea that all should welcome.
Great. Okay, so we are going to go on to commercial break. But when we come back, we are going to continue with what happens after the election, because I know the election closes, counting happens, people are, there witnessing, the counting. And of course, we also have a few videos from the two electoral commissioners. We have a video from Samuel Tete, who is currently the vice chairman for operations at the EC. He's made some comments that will be playing all those videos, breaking it down, and I'll be having my guest, Mr. Fred Johnston, here explain to us what his view are on some of those videos. So producer, if you're listening to me, I think we can go to commercial break now. We'll be back in a few minutes. Thanks for watching. My name is Alfred Amuzu.
There are three main activities in an election calendar: updating the register, exhibiting the register, and then the actual elections. With the exhibition, it's important for people, the relevance is that it gives people the opportunity to make sure that their details have been captured, that they have been captured accurately, to make any changes they want to make to the register. And then there's the bigger one, which is the opportunity for all of us to take part in creating a credible process, which starts from the register, by going there to help the electoral management body object to anybody who we believe should not be on the register, whether because you're a minor, whether because you're a foreigner, whether because you've passed on. So that's the purpose of the exhibition. This year, because of all the challenges and concerns we've had around the register, rather than the usual 2 weeks, we made it a 3-week exhibition. And we introduced the additional aspect of having the biometric verification devices at the exhibition centers. So when people go to the center, they can put their finger, get verified, which gives you the assurance that your fingerprints have been accurately captured. You won't have challenges on election day, but also gives us, as the body in charge of managing the elections, the sense of how effectively and efficiently the systems are working. If there are any changes we need to know. Some people have poor quality fingerprints. Some is DNA, some is from trauma. So when they put their fingers on the devices and there's a problem, we can put them into the category of face only. And then also it gives us a sense of how well the devices are going to work because of the challenges we had in 2012.
So you deployed 29,000 of them?
Yes.
For this exhibition?
And we had backup as well. So anywhere there was an issue with a device, we had a backup one brought in immediately.
How many?
There are 3 main activities in an election calendar: updating the register, exhibiting the register.
Loud Silence can be watched on YouTube Live. Go to YouTube Live, put in Loud Silence. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Ghana Agenda is on. We have a lot of shows coming up. We have so many shows coming up. Kevin is going to stop by briefly to give us insight on some of the things to expect on Loud Silence. I'm going to be your host for the Ghana Agenda. My name is Alfred Amuzu. Today I'm in studio with Fred Johnson. Fred Johnson is from the NDC. Just a quick recap. We've been talking about the Ghana Electoral Commission. The Ghana Electoral Commission. We are on the first segment of the show where we talked about the election life cycle. I think we just played a video from the former EC chairwoman, the EC chairperson, Charlotte Say, where she cemented some of the things to say. She literally went back to say some of the exact same things. We said how registrations are conducted, the exhibition process where people can go and do verify their fingerprints to make sure they are on the register. And I think where we stopped, and we are going to continue from where we stopped, which is you told us about how the election is conducted, people show up, verify. Of course, you've done the exhibition, so they know their name is on the register. They come to election day, now they are voting. When the voting is done, my understanding is this, and correct me if I'm wrong. Sometimes I'm in the United States, and you're in the United States too, but again, we want to make sure, we fact check each other, right? Yes. So correct me if I'm wrong. Once elections are completed at the polling stations, what actually took place in 2016 is, number one, it happens every year. The counting begins once polls close, right? Yes. And people, when the countings happen, what happens? Do they do it in a back door? What has been your experience?
My experience is that the counting is done openly.
Okay.
And there are representatives of the candidates from the various parties.
Okay.
And
I really can't hear you. So
so there's there are representatives of candidates from all parties.
Okay.
And they witness the counting, and then they take this report in, and then of course they all have their processes in which they deliver it to their various headquarters, and then that is when they get these numbers in, and then they kind of determine what is going on as far as which results are coming from which angles.
So walk me through. Say you aren't from the NDC, right?
Yes.
How would NDC actually run this? So NDC will have representatives or somebody at the polling station.
That's correct.
When the election, once the polls close, or would the person be there from the beginning?
The person will be there from the beginning.
From the beginning?
Yes.
And this can be 12 hours.
12 hours,
shifts.
and yes.
Okay.
Of course.
Or you have different people.
It's not one person. It's usually 2 or 3 people. So they can decide to run a shift system if they choose to, or if they just all want to be there at the same time. That's that would be their decision to make. But it's not a burden on one person. Obviously, it's a group of people that are there to witness the counting and witness also the election process, making sure that everything is done accordingly.
So what you're describing is the political parties have representation at the counting.
That's correct.
How about the people who voted? the electorate themselves? Are they allowed to watch the vote counting?
Well, yes, they
I think
usually,
I've seen videos.
they usually,
yes.
they usually stay, hang around to get the results from.
What I want to get clear to my listeners, and of course we are going to explain, I'm trying to figure out how can our elections be rigged, which is one of our segments, right?
Okay.
So we are building this thing so that people really understand step by step what happens and whether we can actually rig the election in Ghana or not. Because, there's so many things being said, right? We want to be factual. We want to just speak to the facts.
Yes.
Can elections be rigged? Which is a segment we come into, but we want to build it step by step. So that's why I'm not rushing. I want us to, go gradually, right? So tell me, everybody who participated in this votes get to witness the counting live, watching it. So even I can take my phone and report to whomever I want to report to about the results from my constituency. Yes. How does the Electoral Commission also get those results? My understanding is the pink sheet. Yeah. The pink sheet, which is what is signed by the representatives of the parties and the Electoral Commission officials to show the results of the counties, right? Yes. My understanding is those pink sheets are scanned and sent to the Electoral Commission from each polling station. Is that your understanding as well?
That's my understanding as well.
Okay. Yeah. So does the Electoral Commission declare results based on the scan pink sheets, or there's another way the Electoral Commission verifies this?
I believe the Electoral Commission does the same. They declare results based on the scanned pink sheets. Okay. Unless there is a reason to doubt any of the votes on the pink sheets, then I believe there will be there are processes in place to rectify that. But generally, that's the process as far as my understanding is concerned.
My understanding too is that, so the pink sheets that get scanned and sent to the Electoral Commission, the headquarters of the Electoral Commission, gives the Electoral Commission provisional figures that they have to wait for the ballot papers sealed in envelope with every candidate's name on it, sent to headquarters before the final results get announced. So basically, the process from what I know is you go in, cast your ballot, the ballots get counted and at the polling station, and the reports get collated at the constituency level. So each constituency may have maybe 100 polling stations, but all that get collated to the constituency level. From the constituency level, it goes into the regional, all right? And the regions get collated together. And then from the region, it goes to the headquarters. But in the meantime, the Electoral Commissioner gets a scanned copy of the pink sheets from each polling station, just as a backup. So they can have some provisional figures and they can cross-check when the numbers come from the regions. Yeah. Is that your understanding?
That's my understanding.
So this thing is really proof. It's not easy to rig this thing. You don't have to answer that yet. We'll come to that segment. Okay. But would that be? You can give me. Is that your understanding?
That's my understanding. Yes, I think for the most part the bases are correct. Yes.
Yeah. So this is a solid system.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I used to hear of the strong room. The strong room where Afarijan, of course, the former EC chairperson, if you know him, is Afarijan. It's a name we all revere, right? A name we all identify with EC. So Afarijan used to hold this strong room where nobody knows what is happening in the strong room except a few people. Charlotte has opened it up where, in fact, there are TV displays of the results as they come in. There are the political parties are there tabulating the numbers themselves. That's just another element of proofing or securing, the results that get announced. Is that your understanding as well?
Yes. That's another level of cross-checking what they have received. Of course, the party headquarters have their own results coming in. Okay. And being in that strong room with the televised results coming in is just a way of also comparing that with what they're receiving from the ground, just to pair the notes and make sure that what they're receiving and what the EC is displaying are just in line.
Okay,
that's
great.
basically.
So it's no longer a strong room per se; it's now an open room.
Not so much a strong room.
I think we should find a different name for it, right?
I agree.
A strong room.
The people's room would be a good name for it.
Good. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift into the next segment. Are there some other things you want to say about the process that we haven't talked about?
No, I think for the most part we've covered the baselines of what the process is about.
Okay, okay, good. And I thought so too. Now, the second segment we want to talk about is the systems that support elections.
Okay.
The systems that support elections. We've heard about the biometric voter registration kits.
Yes.
We've heard about the biometric voter verification devices.
Yes.
And then we've also heard about a data center with databases. Some of these things confuses a lot of, some of us, right? So we want to break that down and get a good understanding of what the biometric verification or voter registration kit is. What is that? What does that even do?
My understanding of the biometric voter registration kit is these are, right now the electronic devices that are being used on the by the Electoral Commission in the process of registering people.
Okay.
Then, of course, the device is something that processes what they've received besides the kits. And then, in a nutshell, the register is the final place in which all this information goes.
Okay. So basically what you're saying is when I go to do the registration, that the instruments used is the biometric voter registration kits.
Yes.
That's where my fingerprint will be taken at.
Yeah.
And then those fingerprint informations go into some database.
Yes, they
somewhere.
go to a device.
And this is the one we are saying the foreigners have access to, right? We'll talk about that.
Okay.
But, just so we can have an idea of what we are looking at. So you go, fingerprints goes into the biometric voter registration kit.
Yes.
And then how many of those do you have? Do you have an idea?
Oh, no, I don't.
I don't. Okay, great. So I know in 2012 they did some type of rotations, and even in current, we're going to play some video that will show Samuel Telter kind of describing how many they intend to procure this time around, and we're going to talk through whether that is a good idea for from your part. I think I know your party's position, but I would let you talk about that. So you have your fingerprints captured by the voter registration. The biometric voter registration kits. Yeah. Then what do we use the biometric verification device for?
So the device basically is what captures during the elections, during voting. This is what captures every information that is being fed into it, and that's what it's used on the field.
Okay.
So those are remote devices that are used on the polling stations to capture, to identify eligible voter that is in the registry.
So your information is being captured, it's dumped in a database. On the day of election, you go and put your fingerprint again on another device, which is also connected to that database. And it takes your fingerprint that is capturing on the day of the election and compares it with what they have in the database. And if there's no match, then what happens?
Well, if there's no match, then the assumption will be that you're not registered.
Okay.
Basically you're not in the system.
Okay.
You're not registered.
Okay.
So you're not eligible to vote.
Okay.
Now, there could be physical verification. Now, I believe that the assumption will be that something probably, with this computer devices, there are glitches, they're prone to glitches. So the assumption will be that there may be a problem.
Okay.
For example, the argument is made that those who farm, hard labor, construction workers and all that, at some point the prints will be depleted to the point where you go to verify and you're not able to verify.
I think that was one of the reasons that we are trying to get a new system, right?
Yes.
But then, go ahead.
So you're not able to, the system is not able to read the prints.
Okay.
So because it's not able to read the prints, there has to be physical verification. The system I understand is that there's a form to be filled out.
Okay.
And then verification process starts from there.
Okay.
Now it will be up to the commission to determine whether or not such verifications make any sense to them.
Okay.
But basically, those devices are like the remote devices on the field.
Okay.
That fits into the database biometric verification management system.
Okay.
Which is in the technical room, so to speak.
Okay. So basically, what you're describing to me tells me that the BVDs, which is the biometric verification devices, would be at each polling station. How many?
Well, since we have 200 and
we have
up,
29,000 polling
stations.
stations. So we'll have 29,000 of these things.
Would assume that there'll be 29,000 of them, but hopefully there will be more, just in case of any failures in these devices.
Okay. So good. Now, well, those are really good answers, right? So I think this has given us now. So we have the data center itself, where the database we are describing resides, right?
Yes.
And this data center I'm sure has some servers that run applications. So there's an application server in there. There's a database server where the data actually goes and resides.
Yep.
And so basically this database that we are describing, or this data center we are describing, from my understanding, databases need cooling systems, because you see, these computers have the hard disk that is running, spinning. I've read somewhere that we're having problems with our cooling system in our data center. Is that correct?
Well, I haven't heard that, but it shouldn't surprise anyone if that's the case, because like you rightfully said,
right.
These units run and they emit heat and everything. They need to be cooled down.
They need to be cooled down.
Under normal circumstances, though, there should be secondary storage facilities or even tertiary storage facilities where if one system is experiencing any difficulties, another site would be able to...
So you're talking about off-sites?
Exactly. I don't know if we have that, but this would be a suggestion to the... the commission.
I think we do, because I have the strategic plan that was released in 2016. There's a strategic plan from 2016 to 2020 put together by Mrs. Osei when she was the chairperson. And in that document, and of course we may be able to show that depending on if the producer can cue that. In that document, it says that we have a secondary location. First of all, great. I don't think any vendor will give us a system, a data center, without providing for a contingency plan. So I think that does exist, right? Now, in about 1 minute, we are going to go on a commercial break again, and when we come back, we also have another segment that is going to be very juicy. This is where all the discussion, the real part of this conversation that I'm sure everybody's waiting on will come out. Okay. This is where we will talk about whether our election can be rigged, whether elections in Ghana can be rigged. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Loud Silence Radio. My name is Alfred Amuzu, and this is the Ghana Agenda. I have in the studio here with me Fred Johnson from the NDC. Fred is breaking it down. So basically what we're trying to do here is, again, explain the process. After explaining the process, when we come back, Fred will be telling us whether we can rig the system or we can't rig the system. And then we also look at why we want to change the system to start with. So keep your dials where you are. Tell a friend to tell a friend. It's Too Many Filler. Too Many Filler is here on Ghana Agenda, and we are providing it. Fred is helping me do that.
Let's do it.
Yep. We'll see you in a few minutes.
When it comes to Charlotte Osei rigging the elections, it's important that we focus on the process and not the person. I believe we should have a process that is so strong that regardless of how malevolent Charlotte Osei wants to be, she should not be able to rig the elections. And that's precisely the kind of process we have.
We'll come to that for you to walk us through the details of the process. So
basically, it is.
So you want to build the process and the systems such that it's not even possible for anyone, as you said, malevolent, to rig the election. Have you built that process now? Would you say you have?
We have a really, really credible process. And
what's the difference between what we have now and what we had in 2012? Any 3 or 4 major differences that will tell us that yes, we are in a different place?
We have improved the system. We're rolling out 27 electoral reforms.
27?
Yes. But even as of 2012, compared to other countries, we have a very good system. We have a high level of mistrust, and we tend to focus on persons. And so Charlotte Osei has been appointed, and she's coming to install a president. But it's just not possible under the system, because for Charlotte Osei to do that, she has to get the support and active involvement of her 6 co-commissioners, her 10 regional directors, the 200+ district electoral officers, the 275 returning officers, and their 2 assistants. And then when you get to the polling station, for this year's elections, there's going to be 145,000 people working at the polling stations. Charlotte Osei has to make those people all decide to toe one line.
Well, but you are the final decision maker, not them.
I will explain why I'm not the final decision maker. And then you are likely to have over 500,000 agents for candidates and parties, and then 2 counting agents per candidate at the collation centers. All these people must actively be working and changing the documents for Charlotte Osei to rig the elections. So I need to convince 500,000 plus people to skew the system in favor of one person. I haven't figured out how to do that yet. And it's not even a part of my value system.
It's your announcement that matters.
No, it's not a part of my value system that I would do that. Yes, I get to announce the results of just the presidential election. But it's an onerous responsibility, and it's a great honor to do that, to get to declare who has won the presidency. But what you're actually doing is more of a chief servant role and not a chief organizer role. The process has happened. It's gone through 29,000 polling stations, 275 collation centers. It's been signed off by officials and agents at all those levels. It's come to the National Collation Center. The parties have seen the results, they've signed off. We have compared the results with results by independent entities like Codeo's parallel voter tabulation. And when you are very comfortable that the result expresses the will of the people, then you get to announce that. So you are actually the voice of the ballot box. Because the 2 things that the Electoral Commission is subject to are the law and the opinion of the people as expressed in the ballot box. And that's why when you read our Constitution, the ultimate power in our Constitution is the people of Ghana. And the election gives them the opportunity to express that sovereignty. It is that power is reserved for the people of Ghana who get up and queue and go and vote. Your work as the returning officer for the presidential elections is to make sure that what the majority of people say is what you declare. You don't go and declare what you want to declare. You are subject to the will of the people as expressed in the ballot boxes. So it's a great honor, but it doesn't, we are giving too many powers to the voice.
So
All right, welcome back. This is the Ghana Agenda, and it's on Loud Silence. If you don't have Loud Silence, subscribe to, please do so. Go to YouTube, put in Loud Silence, and click subscribe. Go to Facebook. You can either join from, with all due respect, or we have the Loud Silence Radio and TV on Facebook as well. So go to Facebook, search for Loud Silence Radio and TV, and like us, so you can get alert anytime we come on live. Again, my name is Alfred Amuzu, and what I would do before we go to the next segment is I'll be reading a few messages. So let me take the first ones from Facebook. Facebook, I have here, Nobe Teta says, drop that register, new voters register, BIM. So funny. Okay, the second one here says is from Peter Richardson. Peter says, I'm Peter Richardson, aka Uncle Richie, watching live from Lucan, UK. Peter, we are happy you join us. Tell your friends to also join us. Nobe Tata came again. He says JM Bebia Tafor. I can't read that. Then there's Charles Cardinal says nice show. Kobena Dansu says sound is a bit low. Okay, I think we fixed the sound issue, right? So it should be clear now. Nana Ekua Ophabia says no matter what MPP do, JMD will win. Good. Guys, we don't want it to be very political. We know JM is a formidable candidate. He's been president before. We know Akufo-Addo. We've all seen what he's doing as well. We want the issue. Tell us about the issues. Tell us what we are discussing. If there are anything that you want to add to that, that would be great. If we miss something, please tell us. Daniel Agboja says, please put restrictions on your program and stop inviting politicians to your studio especially. Hey, we have a seat here waiting for you, so come and join us. We would actually even like for you to call into the show. Soon we will be posting our numbers, and in subsequent shows you can actually call and contribute to the show. If you don't want us to have politicians, we are the politicians. You are a politician. By the way, I have Charles Cardinal against his President Nana Addo is a bad leader and needs to be kicked out. All right, that's your opinion. We will take it. Pa Lawyer says focus, and that's Kevin's word. Stay focused. We like that. Pa, thanks for joining us. Joshua Lesu says, good evening, sir. God bless you for the work you are doing for Mother Ghana. The EC chair should note that the conflict that happens in other countries, we don't want to. There's not going to be any conflict. We'll make sure that doesn't happen. Hopefully, we don't want conflict. So, Charles Ranky said, good one, Tukpa. That's my nickname. Yeah. Charles, thanks for watching. Okay, so let me also switch to YouTube. There are a few more on YouTube. Let me take about 5 or 6 of them, and then we can continue the show. If I don't read your message today, please bear with me. Okay, YouTube, I have the first one came from Simon say, Mr. Muzu, I'm watching you live. Thank you for watching. Tell your friends. Then I have Fakon Harun Boachi says, we day. Then we have Christian Adotewia says, I'm here too, people. So these guys, I was saying, they're here, they're watching, which is good. I have somebody watching from Colorado, Silvanos Fiagba. Silvanos, thanks for watching. Please tell your friends. We want people to watch us. We want people to get engaged. Don't just be, what did the president say? Be active citizens, right?
Don't be spectators.
Don't be spectators. We want you to take part in our democracy, all right? So please watch us, and we hope we can provide some of the facts and the questions that you should be asking of your politicians. Kwabena Yok says, welcome, boss. So there's so much being said here. I'm going to take the last one, and the lucky person on that one will be Justice Appiah, which says, hearing you from Accra. Thank you. It's Sunday. I know it's a little late over there in Accra, but thanks for, watching us. Go and get more data, because more feel like they're here. Okay? So now let's go back to our topic, right? I think we're on a segment where we are talking about the systems. Do you want to add anything to the system aspect before we move to the juicy part, which is whether our elections can be rigged? Again, ladies and gentlemen, you're watching the Ghana Agenda on Loud Silence Radio and TV, and my guest is Fred Johnson. Fred is from the NDC. We've also invited the MPP to join us in the studio today. They haven't made it. They are not here today. They promised to be here. So I'm still in conversation with them, and soon we would have an NDC representative in the studio. Next week, I'll actually be talking about the GMPC. I'll be analyzing their audit report and some of the findings. It's a very important institution in our, country. They manage our oil and gas discoveries, and we want to make sure that we are looking at them thoroughly and monitoring their activities. I have a lot to say about that. So tune in next week. Tell a friend to tell a friend. So before we move on, do you have anything you want to say about the last segment before we go into the juicy part?
Well, the only thing I want to say is that the system as it stands right now, from the 2012 till date, has served its purpose, I think, very well. Now, with all systems, there's always room for improvement. Okay. So we welcome all suggestions for improvement. Okay. But such improvements would have to be evident. It has to solve a problem, not just anyone coming from some dream somewhere and then suggesting that we change anything about the system as we have it. Okay. Like I said, it served us well, and why try to trigger it or fix it if there's no problem? Okay. That would be all I'll say. But I wait for your questions and your questions from your viewers and listeners.
Oh, definitely. I have a lot of them for you, and I'm sure the viewers are also typing questions. If you have any question you want me to ask of Mr. Fred Johnson, please put it in our Facebook comment section or on YouTube, and I'll try to read that live. Now, before we go into the next segment, I want to say this first, right? In the strategic document that I was talking to you about, the 2016 to 2020 strategic document, strategic plan, this plan came as a result of an environmental assessment that UNDP, we actually went to help, we asked for help from UNDP, and they provided us consultants to do an environmental assessment to see where we are as a country, where our electoral processes, what help could be given to the Electoral Commission. Why is that important? Before you write, and even the EC chair explained that, before you write a strategic plan for an institution like an Electoral Commission, you want to do some type of assessment to be familiar with the issues you have, right? What are the risks? What are some of the opportunities? Where our strengths are? And one of the things, interestingly, that came out is, one of the risks that came out is the fact that elections results will be announced, but the candidate will reject it. We've seen a glimpse of that in 2012. From the NDC's perspective, do you think today that you are comfortable with how our electoral processes are progressing? And would you assure my listeners that when election results are announced today, that you are comfortable based on the current register we have?
Oh, yes, definitely so. And it's not only a view of the NDC. I don't know if you're following the dialogue in Ghana right now. If you're following, you realize also that the suggestion from the EC to change the system has been frowned upon by the IPRAN, that is Inter-Party Resistance Against the New Voter Register.
Oh, so there's another coalition.
Yes, of course. These are
what is that again?
The Inter-Party Resistance Against the New Voter Register.
Interesting.
So this is not just NDC. This is not a view of the NDC. It's a view of the other political parties, obviously besides the MPP.
Which other political parties are part of this?
The Eagle is one of them. The
Eagle,
APC
of course, is
one
from the
them.
NDC family.
Well, the APC is one of them also. So, of course, it's more than one. So it's a group of people that thinks that, look, the system as it stands right now works. Of course, we all agree that, look, if there needs to be upgrades, we would upgrade. But to duck the whole system and then adopt a new system is what the problem is. So, like I said, if it's giving us results as we see them as they stand, and we don't see any problems with the system as it is today, yes, of course, if the results are in, let's say 2020, wherever the results go, I believe the NDC will stand. And then, of course, we did that in 2016 when we lost as the party in power. We rightfully conceded. We said, yes, we have lost, and they have won. So I don't see what will change in the future.
So there is this allegation that the register is bloated, that we have so many dead people on the register. But here you are, saying you shouldn't change it. And I'm trying to square that with, we have a bloated register, but you don't want us to change it. Tell me why you think.
So let's get a definition of bloated.
Yeah.
Okay. What do they mean when they say the register is bloated?
They say dead people. There are so many dead people on the register.
That's a good one.
Okay.
If the argument is that it's bloated with dead people,
right?
Last I checked, dead people don't go and vote.
Right.
The reason they don't go and vote is that, or they will not be able to vote is that they don't have fingerprints. I mean, so if you're not able to go through the biometric verification system with your fingerprint, dead person cannot do that.
Right.
So the person is dead. So yes, the argument is that it's bloated, all right. But does that mean it's affecting the results of the elections? The answer is no, it's not. It's not affecting the results of the election because dead people are not voting. Now, we can find a way to clean out a bloated system.
How do you do that?
Well, we have IT experts that would do that. Look, if the person is dead, and there is proof that the person is dead.
Right.
We have birth and death registry in our country.
Right.
Okay. Death certificate works. So take the death certificate and then display it to the commission. Now look, this person is not living. This person is dead. So we have to find a way to synchronize the Electoral Commission system with the death registry system.
Right.
where a person is identified in the system as deceased, and then therefore the system would be able to synchronically take that person off of the register.
Right.
That should be a system that we should be working on.
Right.
So if a system is bloated, this is a simple solution. First of all, it doesn't affect the results of the election.
Okay.
Second of all, the solution is there.
But when you say it doesn't affect the results of the election, we've seen in the past where the number of votes counted outnumber the number of registered persons in a polling station. In the past, this has been the case in our electoral history. So, it means that polling station had nobody died in that polling station, right? Everybody who registered came and cast their vote. And there are more people who actually voted who perhaps were not on the register.
Well, so with a biometric verification system, there's no way if a system is bloated with deaf people, those people will be able to vote. Right. We all agree. I think we all agree on that one.
Agree on that, yeah.
So there's no doubt about that. That's why we can argue that it doesn't affect the results of the elections.
Right.
Now, it may affect, let's say, budgeting. I understand that. We understand that it may affect budgeting.
Right.
Budgeting in terms of how much money is appropriated for the elections.
Right.
So that is the reason why we would suggest that we have a system where the deaf registry is working with the election commission.
You see, the problem I have is the budget thing. It completely confuses me, because if you have 2 people on your register, you budget for 2 people. Whether the 2 people turn out or not, as a country, we have to understand that. I don't know why we would have, our register has about 14 million people, or about 15 or 14 million, right? I don't understand why we would want to budget less than for, fewer than 14 million people we have on our register, whether they're dead or not. This is who we have. So the budget thing is a sunk cost. In accounting, that's how we call it, sunk cost, because we should already know that we need to invest that money. So that part of the argument I don't think counts as far as I'm concerned. Now, what I'm really concerned about is the parties themselves. You guys, you say that dead people don't vote. Sure. But you guys are the ones who are monitoring. You are monitoring the elections. You have your representatives there. But we find people voting more than the number of people registered in, how is this happening?
I don't recall this in modern history, obviously from 2012. I don't recall that. I know before, prior to 2012, yes, this has been the argument where we had the indelible ink on the fingers, and then people would go and vote, and then people actually went boasting that they voted multiple times. But after the biometric, we've never heard, we've not heard this. And in fact, if anyone is claiming to have done the same, I think it would be a very minimal number of persons that, of course, have not been verified for us to know that if the person is just boasting, bragging, or whatever it is they may be doing.
Okay.
Yes.
So another thing too is sometimes you go to cast your vote and the machines break down. The verification machines break down. My understanding is, we have a FAR, which is the fault acceptance rate of 0.02%, which means 98.8% of the time the machines are working perfectly. But about 0.02% of the time they are not working perfectly. Or somebody will come and their fingerprints may differ from what is in the database, but the system will accept it in. That happens, and that number is the FAR of 0.02. Now, what are the other ways that you clean the register? I know you talk about let's go to the deaf registry, take their data. In some villages, of course, they don't keep data of people who pass, right?
True.
But you say, let's go take that data and compare it with what we have on our registry. Then what? Because I understand there's some adjudication process. You just don't take people off our register like that. How does that adjudication process work, and if you can educate us on that?
So, yes, of course. I mean, if we just leave all that in the hands of the EC to just get a certificate and then take people off, of course, the other political parties will raise hell, because how do we know that you're not doing the bidding of whichever party is in power?
Right.
So yeah, it goes through that process where the individual parties will send representatives to verify that truthfully these persons are dead. They're not still amongst us. Right. If they're able to verify that, then of course, then there's an agreement. There's a consensus that these names should be taken off.
So the political parties come together with EC
yes.
during the adjudication process, and that is when the agreement is struck to remove names from the register, right?
That is my understanding.
That's your understanding. Okay, I also heard about deduplication. where, for instance, the IFEs, the system we have. So we have, what we have is actually ABIS, right? And, which is the automated biometric identification system, which we say has the capability of the facial recognition. And some countries actually even use it, they activate the iris part where your eyes can be scanned.
Yeah.
But in Ghana currently, since we don't have the iris and the facials in the database, it will be tough for us to just go ahead and on the election day say, hey, let me scan your eye. It must have already been taken before we can actually do that verification. Now, deduplication. Deduplication is where, for instance, if I have multiple fingerprints in the system, it gets removed. Is that your understanding?
That's my understanding.
What else do you know about deduplication?
Well, what I know is that this is done by the EC.
Right.
As far as I'm concerned, without the political party. So it's a process where they go through the system and then see if there's duplicate. Let's say you have Frederick Johnson and then there's another Frederick Johnson and then the fingers and everything is fingerprints and everything is matching.
Okay.
So obviously then, so there's I've been recorded twice.
Right.
So the system where the other one is deleted and then only one authentic register is there for me as a voter.
So this can happen. Not necessarily at the exhibition. This can happen before the exhibition. This can happen on a daily basis. This deduplication way of cleaning the register is something that can happen any day.
Well, now I don't know when the AC does that.
Right.
If they have a set time to go into the system and then do the deduplication.
Right.
But I know it's something that they do.
Right.
It's a process that's in place.
Right.
But as to when they do it, I'm not sure.
So the reason I'm asking all these questions is this, right? We are cleaning the register. We have the opportunity to go and get. We are cleaning the register by deduplication. We have the through the adjudication system, of course. We have a way to go to the death registry, birth and death registry, get the name of deceased, and remove them from the register again through the adjudication process. So would you say our register is pretty credible?
Yeah, I'll say that, and also I'd also add that, as you already know or may have known, we have census coming up in 2020. So that's another way of getting the system also cleaned up from the death, because once census is out, we know who is dead and who is being born, who is moved out from which age bracket to what.
Demographic changes.
Exactly. Whoever gets into the age of the voting and, voting age and all that, we know that. So that would be another system, another way of cleaning the register. So like I said, if the system is bloated, it's not so much a problem like one would make it sound like. And again, it does not directly affect the results of the election. Right.
There is this argument being made again that it takes census to happen. It has to be, register has to only be compiled after census. Is that law or this is just people talking?
My understanding is it's not law.
All right.
But it's just prudent.
It's prudent.
Let's say it's that way. It's just prudent.
Okay.
So
why is that prudent?
Of course, when you have a census, that is when you know who is dead.
Okay.
Like you said, in a village where they don't have an effective registration process where they register the dead. Right. So with a census, obviously there's money spent to do this. And we have a current number of who is living and who is dead, who is up in age, and who is not. So at that point, the EC would be able to determine who is now eligible, who is now reached the voting age, let me say it that way, and then who is dead, that needs to be removed out of that. So another point they could make to the political parties would be that, look, the current census we have now, this is what we have. All these names that are registered with your party are not on part of the census. So what do we do here?
So let me ask you a quick question on that, right? So if I'm 17 years old when the last census was done and I didn't make it to the electoral roll, right? Is there an opportunity for me for the next 10 years to get on the roll? Is the register open periodically for limited registrations where people who turn 18 can go and register?
Oh, yes. That is a system in place where you turn 18 and then when the voter register is open, obviously you go in and then you register.
Okay.
So we don't necessarily have to depend on the census. Now, I would pray for a time where the system would be that once you reach the voting age, your system gets fed into the EC system, and then they're able to say, okay, you've now been registered to vote.
Okay.
Now you can later on have your party affiliations and whatever it is, you can work that out with your party.
Okay.
But a system where that is synchronized, I think would be a good idea for Ghana.
All right, viewers, you've been watching the Ghana Agenda on Loud Silence Radio and TV. The Ghana Agenda on Loud Silence Radio and TV. I'm your host, Alfred Amuzu, and I have here with me Fred Johnson, who's explaining. He's giving me so many details. I didn't know, I don't think you knew you were going to come and tell me all these details today, right? Not really. But it's interesting when we have people in the studio and you throw in the questions to them. These are not questions we've pre-planned. These are live questions that I'm asking, and I think you're doing a fantastic job at helping us understand the processes that are carried out through our election. I'm going to ask the most important question for this segment. Can our election be rigged? And if so, how?
Well, for the election, for Ghana's election to be rigged, I think it would have to take a lot.
Right.
Now, it would have to take a lot in terms of from the voter registration process.
Right.
Okay. That is where it has to take from there, and then it also has to go to the election ground where people vote, and it have to be worked out with the those who are representing the various parties at the polling stations, and it has to take a lot. So there's always room for improvement.
Right.
So it's not a perfect system.
Okay.
But at least I think it's prone for the most part.
So let me refocus the question, right? If I want to rig Ghana election, from the process we walk everybody through. We walk people through the registration process. We walk people through the exhibition, what happens after registration, the election day itself, and what happened post-election. Which of these phases or steps in the process can a person rig the election? Now, where can I rig the election? Would it be at the point of registration, or would it be during the announcement? Where can, if our elections can be rigged, where can it be rigged at?
No one person, as the system stands right now, no one person can rig Ghana's election.
Okay.
Yeah, unless something changes.
Okay.
But as the system stands right now,
it cannot be
there's
rigged.
No way, because even announcing the results.
So all this noise we are making, you're saying that the election cannot be rigged.
No.
But let me give you a scenario here. Help me out, right? Yeah. I'm gonna play the devil's advocate a little bit. I'm from Volta region, right? I'm from Ketu South, World Bank, NDC. Doesn't necessarily mean anything. But here's the thing. So, sometimes, devil's advocate here, you may find it hard to get somebody genuinely representing MPP. Or let's go to Kumasi, Bantama. You may find it very hard to, or you may have somebody who is part of NDC or RAI, but could be bots.
Yeah.
And therefore, even though they are the polling station representing a specific party, let's say NDC in Bantama, it may happen that on the election day, they may be in collusion with the MPP or the other political parties. And it may happen in multiple parties, even though, it has to take all the representation of the other parties to actually have this scheme work, right? Yeah. But this is a situation where if the voter register has 1,000 people on that register and only, let's say 500 show up, one person can sit in a room somewhere and thumbprint the rest of the 500. And the pink sheet to be signed properly. Would that constitute rigging? Would that be one way that the register could be rigged? And therefore, if I'm a political party, I definitely want to change that register so that I can increase the number in my stronghold. Would that be your assertion?
Well, like I said before, it has to be it has to take a lot of effort on your part to be able to do that.
Right.
Because remember now, you made mention of the representatives is being bought.
Right.
Okay, so let's say 3 from NDC or 3 from MPP. And so you're buying all 3 of them. So what are they doing? They're basically reporting what?
They're going to close their eyes.
They're reporting what? False results. But that's not what is going to the EC either.
No, what I'm saying is they would stuff the ballot box. Okay. So, for instance, you have 1,000 registrants at that specific polling station.
Okay.
Only 300 show up to vote.
Okay.
But they will report for the whole 1,000. Meaning, somebody in a cubicle somewhere, underground somewhere, thumbprinted the other 700 ballot papers.
But the
and stuff
DVD,
it in the box.
But the DVD would show that only 300 people showed up. So if the DVD is showing that only 300 people is showing up, why are we having 700 more votes?
How do you know what the BVD is showing? Do we have a report at the polling station showing how many fingerprints have been proved that day?
My understanding is that the BVD transmits the number of people who are showing up through the system into the BVMS.
It's easy. That should
so
be the way,
if that is sending that information there, then there should be no reason for that 700 extra votes to be accepted.
Okay.
He has to be queried that, look, we have 300 people reporting while we having 1,000 votes being reported.
Right.
So the 700 extra votes should be taken out of, or suggestion would be that there has to be revoting in that particular polling station.
So your position is our system is solid.
I wouldn't say it's solid, but I would say for the most part, it's good. It's not the best.
Okay.
It's good.
Okay. Okay. Now, so what is this? All this noise we are making? Because remember, one of the risks we talked about in the strategic plan is that results will be announced, and the political parties may reject those results, plugging the country into chaos. Now, the political parties are making a lot of noises. You know, they have entrenched positions where the NPP is not saying a lot, but the NDC doesn't want to register. Or the other coalition, the coalition you just mentioned, they don't want to register. The EC is insisting on replacing the register, right? Yeah. Which is creating an atmosphere where the risk we are describing may materialize. And God forbid. We almost had that in 2013 where, you know, even though a president was declared, the president couldn't rule, couldn't govern because, you know, we've had about 6 months court case where we were locked going to court every day, and the president is expecting either to be told that today you are not the president, even though he has been declared a winner. So I'm asking you to, I'm saying this to say that why are we creating all this atmosphere?
I want it to be known that, look, the IPRAN, the stance of the IPRAN is not entrenched baselessly. It's entrenched because the suggestion to have a new voter register, it's baseless.
Right.
The reason we'll say it's baseless is this, the current system works well. Now, I know one of the arguments is that they want to incorporate facial recognitions into the system. So that the system would be able to recognize faces where the fingerprints fails. Right. Now, we have an independent documentary by an independent source. BBC reported a research that was conducted by NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology here in Maryland, which I don't believe votes NDC, by the way. They came out and their stance is that facial recognition doesn't work for African Americans or black people and Asians.
Oh, interesting.
So if that is supposed to replace something that does a problem that doesn't exist, right? Because this, like I said, this fingerprint system, where the argument is that a farmer, someone who works hard labor, at some point their fingerprints will be depleted, and I don't know if all 10 fingerprints will be depleted to the point where we'll not be able to recognize anything. But let's just assume, let's just argue that is the case, right? There are other measures. We've had physical verifications before. The EC has done this before to bring in a system supposedly to be solving a problem that doesn't exist. Right. And that system is not solid. Right. We all know. I mean, I'll send you the report by the NIST, which was reported by BBC. It's not proven. Right. Obviously, we're not white people. We're black people for the most part in Ghana.
So facial recognition will not work.
It will not work.
Okay.
Those who are designing these systems have made it clear that it's not reliable when it comes to
identifying but it's a good backup.
It is a good backup. But again, if you're changing a system, I think the system should be solving a problem. Right. If there's no problem and you're changing the system, what sense does that make? Okay, so
let's dwell on that a little bit. Okay. If there's no problem and you're trying to change, then what are you really changing, right? My understanding is when they came into office, of course, when Charlotte Osei was replaced by Jean Mensa was saying when she got to the data center, it was full of wires. I'm sure you should expect wires in a data center, but she said it was full of wires, it was dirty. Another thing she said was our data was in the hands of the foreigners. But let me make a quick point here. We use about exactly the same system for our passports. When you go doing your passports, We use about the same system. When you go to the airports, the fingerprints, but we never argue about the system we use for passports. Yeah. There was never a discussion that we should change that. It became a political thing. But for whatever reason, we are always playing with our electoral, the systems we use, the AB system we have. Yeah. If it is ABs, it already means that we have the facial recognition feature in it. It may not have been turned on, but it should be there. Yeah. So we are replacing a non-existing issue, or we're fixing a non-existing issue. So why would we want to abandon a database a data center that we already have? And again, when they were asked what is the plan for the system they currently have, they don't know. What they were like, maybe another country may be interested in it and want to use it if they are just now starting. So if it is good for another country, why are we not using it? Why would we want to replace? And then, of course, they're going to come with a refurbishing. So if you can lump all that and answer in one, that would be great.
Well, so their argument is that the system is obsolete. Mm-hmm. So it's not serving the purpose anymore. Right. And then the argument is also that over the past years, they've replaced the system after every 2 elections. So that's one of the arguments. They've replaced the system after every 2 elections. Right. Well, if it's just a matter of practice, yes, or sequence, yes, again, that argument doesn't hold anything. Right. Right. And then on the other hand, if the data center is dirty and there are wires hanging, right, that is a very simple solution to that. That's a problem that can be easily solved. Right. Now, if you're talking about the devices that are being used, right, okay, the EC just came out with figures. Mm-hmm. Okay, figures, no proofs, right, verifiable proofs, right, to the IPRAN again. Right. That because they're resisting the new system and they want proofs. Right. The EC should be able to convince them that these are the information we have, right, from the experts, mm-hmm, and that is why we're recommending a change. Right. They're not able to do that. Now, they just came out with figures, mm-hmm, that refurbishing the old system will cost $15 million. Right. But then buying a new system will cost
$56 million is what they said.
Is it? Oh, 15 million?
$56 million.
Okay, so and then also buying a new system will cost $6 million.
Interesting.
That's the numbers I got. So if that is the case, just show the IPRAN where you got these sources from. Right. Who is giving you these numbers? Right. Which vendors are giving you these numbers? Right. What are their proposals? Right. They want to see these proposals so that they could also make informed decisions and judge this prudent that, okay, yes, it's a good thing. Right. The system is old. At some point, they will break down. Yeah. Exactly. So why not do it now? The other problem we have is this. NDC, the other problem we have is this. This is 2020 already. Right. Elections will be held on December 7th.
Yeah, they are doing the procurement. By the way, there are 2 issues we are talking about here. They want to do a system change. They also want to do a new register. And they will promise the new register will be done in the first quarter of 2020. First quarter actually ends in March, right?
Yes.
But I think they also mentioned that it would be started in May. So pretty much, my understanding is what they're trying to say is they will start in the second quarter. And you said the NDC's concern is what?
So no, if you start a process, so you start a new system, right? Mm-hmm. The system would have to be tried, tested, and proven. Mm-hmm. So on which election are we going to be able to try the new system? Right. That's one of the questions we have. Right. So if there's nothing to test it on, we'll just wait until December 7th, right? Right. We go to the polling stations, and here we are, right, new agents dealing with new devices, right, voters coming in, having to deal with new devices.
And that can cause a lot of chaos.
Exactly. How does that work? So these are some of our concerns. Meanwhile, the EC, being led by Jean Mensa, has already testified to the fact that attested to the fact that this system works. Right. Remember, before the district level elections, they complained about changing. Right. And then Kellogg, Chamber of legal government, they came out and then they challenged them, and then they came out right away and said, "Oh, it's okay." So the Kellogg came out and said, "Look, you guys should postpone the district level elections until these issues are solved, and then we can go into the election." What did they do? They came out right away and they said, "Oh no, it's okay. the system has just been, the register has just been overstretched.
Right.
Now, what is the meaning of overstretched?
Right. Well,
what is the definition of overstretched?
You know,
if something is overstretched, aren't there solutions for them? Does that mean the system is overstretched? So therefore, there should be a new system.
Not necessarily.
That is
so
the part of.
I know this program. You need sometimes when the topic is interesting, the time flies, right? You keep going and going. Ladies and gentlemen, again, you're watching the Ghana Agenda on Loud Silence Radio and TV. My name is Alfred Amuzu, and the man you've been listening to is Fred Johnson. Fred is from the NDC, and Fred is doing a wonderful job. Fred, I think you're coming back here. I want to do some few messages. Let's take a few messages from our viewers, and then we would conclude our discussions with recommended solutions. I want you to give us what next. You know, maybe they might give you the register. Then what are you going to do about that? We want to hear that. And of course, I think I'm getting the sense that you want people to calm down, right?
Oh,
is that what I'm, is that what I'm hearing?
Of course, yes.
So let's take a few messages and then we would get back to our conversation. So I'm going to start from Ahmed A.H. Jin says, Jin Mensah should be very careful about the new register, God of Ghana. Okay, that's your, then Desire Ankara says, no need for new register or new data center. Desire, we hear you. Then oh boy, Laura says, is it possible for the EC to use their own power for the new register? I don't get it, but okay, great. Juliana Tuari says, why Ghana save the cost, or it's still, so I'm reading from YouTube. It says, why won't Ghana save the cost of getting new register and work with the old one, as it is still good? Ghana must survive and move forward in unity. Drop that register. Great. Okay. Good point there. Then Kwesi say, by awarding new contracts to compile a register, the current EC can have complete access into the system, suppress voter registration in opposition stronghold, etc. Stealing agenda in progress. Ooh, okay. That's your point there. It's well taken. Joseph Helena says, I'm from Germany. Core, first, God bless you and keep you by your health and, you know, for telling the truth. We like that. Josephine Helena, keep coming. We would love to have you all the time. Tell your friends. Ben Jesse say, is this the case? Just, what is that? Is this the case? Just be real and stick to facts. Still didn't get what that is about. Then Kwesi again say, this guy is so smart. Thanks, Kevin and Cole, for the education. We thank you too for watching. We want you to bring your friends, tell a friend to tell a friend. We are on Loud Silence. We're going to take a 1-minute break, and I have a video that I'll play for you, and then you tell me the recommendations. So, producer, if you are listening, let's take about 30 seconds break. All right, thanks again. You're watching Loud Silence. This is Alfred Amuzu. I'm your host on the Ghana Agenda.
What were your challenges why you could not clean the register, so much so that we found ourselves here?
The cleaning of the register, we can only clean the register during exhibition. And that is where we
You conducted a similar exercise recently?
Yes, during exhibition. And if you quite remember, if you cast your minds back in 2016, we gave 21 days. Normally it is 1 week, 2 weeks. But the commission gave 21 days because we wanted to clean what? The register. We wanted more days for people to come and then object to these names on the register. Unfortunately, it actually didn't work well for us. And that is what I am saying, that it depends upon myself, you, the people of Ghana, to take a lot of interest in cleaning what? The register by removing dead names on the register. The way forward is that the Commission is looking for a way of cleaning the register. Probably we can, in a way, talk about active and inactive names. Maybe if we find out that for 2 or 3 consecutive elections, some particular names are not actually, they are not voting. You know, you can't actually find them active. We put them into an inactive register, and then the active ones will be there. Anytime you want to activate, then we bring you back to the active register. So the Commission is looking at ways in which we can actually keep our register clean when we have.
Welcome back, viewers, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Ghana Agenda on Loud Silence Radio and TV Network. I'm your host, Alfred Amuzu. You are listening to myself and Fred Johnson. Fred Johnson is from the NDC. He's been breaking down the electoral process for us. He talked about, how we talked about the entire electoral cycle, right? We started from registration all the way to the exhibition. We talk about the election day itself. We even talked about whether we can rig the election or not, and he's giving us a lot of comfort, giving us a lot of confidence. Even though he's from the NDC, he's telling us, Charlie, we can't rig election in Ghana. It has to be a lot of coordination, but I still have doubts there, because sometimes the ballot boxes come stuffed, you're counting more than the number of people at the polling stations. So some of this, good to hear. I'm feeling good now, because the rhetoric has hit us so far. There are demonstrations going on, and we want people to be aware of the fact that one of the biggest risks we have in our country is where elections will be announced and the candidate will say, I disagree. Cote d'Ivoire, even our neighbor Togo, right, where it's been one family for 50 years almost, right? And after each election, people are bidding to hide it. I remember in 2012, I landed in Ghana right after the election, right? When it was announced and there was all this chaos, the whole street of Accra was quiet. The airport residential area, I was picked up on the way I went to Asalam Down. From there all the way to Asalam Down, I could count the number of cars on the streets. Everybody was in hiding. And we don't want that. This is, the year of return. The country is booming. Everybody's going to Ghana. We want to present a united front. And so that's why we are taking our time to, discuss this topic, break it down, and give people some confidence going into the election that what we have is credible. Please, Jean Mensah, don't mess it up. Is that your position?
That's the view of the IPRAN.
Okay.
And that is why they have taken such a strong stance against implementing a new system. If that is done, I don't think there will be any concerns. Come December 2020, whoever comes out the victor will be accepted by the IPRAN.
That definitely gives me a lot of comfort. Now, for the viewers who are just joining, what is IPRAN? I think you've said it so many different times. Can you explain to them what IPRAN is, and how did this organization actually came by?
So this came by out of the IPAC, which is an inter-party advisory committee, which a body that advises the EC. And when the EC came out with this whole idea of implementing a new voter register, these members of the IPAC, the Inter-Party Advisory Committee, these other political parties came together and they said, no, this is not a good idea. We've proven, we've tried, tested, and proven this system to be very effective. Now, again, with all systems, there's always room for improvement. We all know that. But as it stands today, it gives us results. So no need to change. And even if you decide to change it, It should be, we have to go through a whole process that is acceptable to the members of the IPAC.
Okay.
And that is not the case here. And that is why they've taken such a strong stance against the new implementation.
Right.
So that is where we are. If all these are adhered to, I think we should be fine. There should be no concerns about results of any upcoming elections.
Great. So coming into this segment, we watch a video from the vice chairperson of operations at the Electoral Commission by name Samuel Tete. A question was posed to Samuel that how can we go forward from here? And one of the things he said was we can have people activated and deactivated by looking at the trends. For instance, if the last 3 years, and I'm just paraphrasing here, if the last 3 elections an individual did not participate based on the BVD readings, right? This individual did not show up to the polling station and casted their votes. That person become a candidate for deactivation. In other words, they would mute that person's registration so that they are, taken to adjudication and hopefully removed. It could be the person is dead, traveled, lost citizenship, all kinds of reasons could be assigned to that. What do you think about that, or what is IPRA's position on that? Do you think we should have a way to deactivate people as a way of cleaning the register?
Well, I don't know what IPRA's position is on. This would be, I think this would be an acceptable position to, So
something like that would be something you're comfortable with?
Of course, but it has to be done. It should not be done just by one person sitting somewhere and then deciding.
You're going to mute.
Exactly. There has to be a whole system put in place. By the time
you find out, Ketusaft is all gone.
Exactly.
Bantama is
all gone. There has to be a system put in place where, in consultation with the IPAC, of course, so that the structure is put in place where this process is activated, where someone is put in inactivated mode and then reactivated. In consultation with the IPAC, I think we should be fine. Without that consultation, I think again there will be resistance. There will be problems.
So the EC presented a $1.3 billion budget to Parliament for approval. Parliament approved 700 million. New Ghana. If you convert that, that's how much? 700 million. The old cities, I don't know, it'll be adding 4 zeros, right? So do you know why Parliament would approve 700 when we're asking for 1.3 billion? Now, do you think Parliament should give them the rest of the money? Because, they said the voter registration process alone would take 400 million, all right? Which means they are only left with 300 million. Just the registration process will take 400 million. They will be only left with 300 million for any other operation, including the election day itself, where they need a whole lot of people. All right. They said things that they would take 46 days to do the registration. They are buying 8 machines, and those 8 machines will be going from district to district, and they will be doing the registration in 48 days. 46 days. They believe they'll cover the entire country. Parliament only give them 700 million out of the 1.3 billion they requested. Should Parliament give them the rest of the money?
Well, it depends on how effectively they've made the case. I don't know why they give them less than what they're asking for. And by the way, they're still pushing for.
Maybe because they don't want them to go for any machines.
That's what I was thinking. By the way, they're still pushing for the rest of the money.
Right.
Which again, if they're able to make the case to Parliament as to why they need that money, I believe that Parliament will approve it.
Right.
Just as they've not been able to make the case to the IPAC. That's why hence the resistance.
Right.
I believe it's the same thing with Parliament.
Right.
If they really need the money and there's justification for the money, I believe any reasonable person, especially Parliament, would definitely give them the money.
Okay.
They haven't made their case. They haven't convinced us, the Ghanaian voters, the citizens of Ghana. They have not convinced the IPAC, hence the IPRAN. So they should do a better job of convincing and proving, not just saying, prove to us why you think we need this. Prove to us the vendors that are going to be conducting these things.
Okay.
Let's have a dialogue with them, not us meaning the IPAC. Have a dialogue with them as to how they can implement an effective system.
Right.
So that we can agree. And once that agreement comes, I think we should be fine.
Okay. All right. So you've said quite a bit. You've said a lot of things today, and I know my viewers are happy with you. They're impressed from the comments I'm reading. I know we've gone over time and we're going to have to wrap this show up at some point. There's a comment here says, Albert, the EC boss needs to understand that we as Ghanaians are looking forward for any war, so EC should be very careful on the coming. So we don't want to talk war. We don't want war. Yes. My mother, my whole family is there. I'm actually even in Ghana a lot of the time. So please, we don't want war at all. William Akoto say EC doesn't make nothing. He must stop that quickly. We need peace in this country. So yes. So people are showing, people are getting the message that we all need to tone down. At the same time, EC should listen to the voice of the people. Now, one of the things is EC talks about independence, right? The Constitution guarantees EC independence in function. Yeah, independence. But at the same time, EC depends on funding from the government. Do you think EC is actually independent? Because the government, depending on which government, can decide to hold the money and not release it on time, and EC can be frustrated. Yeah. But we need them to supervise our elections. We need them to conduct our elections. So how can we resolve this independence issue?
So great question. So even with this independence thing, right? Here we are, our elections are becoming too expensive, right? To the point where we depend on foreigners,
right?
Okay, foreign donors,
right,
to help us through the process to fund our elections.
Okay.
So if they're talking about independence, where do we get the independence?
Right.
When we're spending all this money to implement a new system that we obviously don't need, right? And that's not only NDC's position, by the way.
Right.
The IPRAN again, that's their position.
So do you think EC should be able to raise their own funds? Because here's the thing. I know, when the political parties go to their local primaries, right, they pay the Electoral Commission to come and conduct those elections. And so EC has a way to generate its own funding. Would that not be a way to gain independence for the Electoral Commission, so they are not depending on the government? For instance, if you want to change the system, the passport system, because we charge people when they come for passports, we are able to buy whatever system we want that would be effective for us as a country without all this forth and back. Yeah. How can EC be self-sustaining so that they don't have to depend on the politician?
Well, so depending on the government is not so much of a problem.
Because the politician is not giving, they ask for 1.3 billion, you give them only 700.
Well, because they've not been able to make their case.
Right.
So depending on the government, I think it's even better than depending on individuals or depending on our development partners, because that way, they can influence the elections.
Right.
I would rather our government influencing our election than a foreigner influencing our election in terms of funding, by the way, in terms of funding. Right. So they are the ones that are funding based on the proposals, the budgets you bring, and it has to be convincing. Okay. You have to convince them why you need that much money. Nobody's just going to write them a blank check and say, hey, go sign it and use it anyhow. And that is not what is happening here. And that's not going to happen. So if they need more money, first of all, they have to convince the Ghanaians, the people of Ghana. Secondly, they have to convince the IPAC. And then thirdly, they have to convince Parliament. Right. They have not been able to do that.
Right.
Once we wait.
Well, Fred, oh my God. I know I've, beaten you down with so many different questions, but good answers so far. I think you should be back to us. And you have a permanent seat there. Anytime you're interested, I would be sending you some of the programs we'll be working on, and we definitely know that you are coming back to the studio here and helping us explain some of these complicated issues.
Thanks for having me.
We want to thank you so much for coming. I'm going to read a few comments, and then we can bring this show to a close. Again, you are listening to the Ghana Agenda on Loud Silence Radio and TV Network. My name is Alfred Amuzu, and I've been talking to Fred Johnson. We've been talking about the Ghana Electoral Commission. Thank you. Now, Kevin and the TV crew will be premiering the TV tonight after this show. So don't go anywhere. Keep your doors locked. Loud Silence has program after program after program. We are packed. We've been telling you that we are coming live, and we are coming with a lot of smart, intelligent people. We are coming with programs that are very educative, even some entertainment programs. So please, tonight is the night. We are coming full blast. We are premiering a lot of our programs on our TV, and so do not move your dial. Keep your dial where they are. Kevin and the crew will be joining you soon, and the TV will be on live from the studios of Loud Silence, Washington, D.C. Again, my name is Alfred Amuzu. Fred Johnson, thanks for coming. Let me read 2 more comments.
Thanks for having me.
Bring this to a close. Okay. Somebody's okay. Desire, I've already read your comments. Okay, majority of the comments here I've already read. So I think at this point we can bring the program to a close. Next week I'll be talking about GMPC. GMPC, a very important institution in our country. They're in charge of our gas and oil discoveries, and we want to actually show people even where our oil discoveries. There's something I want to show people about the Voltaire Basin. There's so many information that we'll be passing on next week, and so I'll be looking forward to somebody from your camp. I'll be talking to the other camps as well, and we'll make this show lively and the one place for education. We want to be the most trusted name in news outside of Ghana. We are talking about Ghana, but we want to be the most trusted name in news and educational programs outside of Ghana. Again, my name is Alfred Amuzu. You are watching Loud Silence Live, and this show is the Ghana Agenda. Loud Silence is coming full-blown today. We are premiering TV shows right after this program. So keep your dials locked. Don't move. Don't go nowhere. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Loud Silence is here to serve you. Thank you, and join us next week. And also join Kevin's program with all due respect. He has a lot of pack programs on agenda. Again, help me in thanking Fred Johnson. Fred Johnson has been very kind with us. He gave us a lot of education today. And Fred, thanks on behalf of the listeners. You are always welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. All right.